I've noticed is that other people are willing to do it and reinforce it for you and with you. So it's not just like you have to look out for these behaviors or these processes of thought in yourself, but you're also kind of looking out for the way your social group encourages or gives space for the social loafing that is default racism or sexism or whatever. It's a collective shared social reality that we're taught, and so social adaptive behaviors in an individual are going to be affected by their community. People that you compare. There's nothing to do about it.
I just rushed the whole process, and I added the vinegar and the vanilla in at the wrong time.
Yeah. Oh, there are ones in psychology, though. Sorry, brave browser.
I think I was just so anxious. I needed, more than anything, I wanted a taste of the process, and I wanted to do it right. And really, that does change the game. You know, if your goal is to do it right the first time, you'll be super slow in process order because you want to double, triple check everything. And that's what NASA brings to the table in a big way, or any kind of space exploration program, at least to science as a whole, in a cognitive, publicly held sense. You know, this idea of going to the moon, right? Or doing any kind of math that requires absolutely perfect execution the very first time. Otherwise, you know, people die. Monkeys die. We don't like it when dogs and monkeys die. That was horrific. That was globally, tragically horrific, whether it was for Russia, China, or America. All three of us, you know, we had some very intense times with animals in space flight, and it encouraged us really, really hard to work to prevent that in the future. So that, like, perfectionism in engineering is so felt to be true and, like, seen demonstratively to be epic. Like, epically awesome, that it's hard to be okay with messing up different aspects of a process or a project without it impacting your self-esteem, like, at all. You know, this is from an emotional standpoint, this is a really intense recipe for me to try to be doing right now.
The sort of dedicated.
And the woman who wrote the website called it her mother-in-law's recipe, which is also intense for me because I'm trying to come full circle on some, you know, emotional baggage relating to my mother-in-law. And so I'm just like, stressing out about this recipe. So deciding which aspect of it I want to emphasize which aspect of it I want to invest my ego in, I guess, right? So I'm like, well, I'm more interested in coming full circle on the mother-in-law stuff, so if it takes a couple tries to get right, I don't mind wasting caster sugar on this. I'm not a huge fan of working with caster sugar or powdered sugar. It's a confectioner's tool at the end of the day, and I love confections, but you know, they have a really small place in a one-person kitchen, so working with powdered sugar just isn't huge for me, which means I feel pretty good messing up recipes that mostly include it. The only problem here, of course, is that it takes 6 eggs. 6 eggs! And that's just... God, that's really too much for me. I'm just like, can I kill 6 more unborn chickens today? I know I'm not killing them. I know that. But it's just like, you know, just with the full knowledge of all of the chicken related crime out there. There's a lot of chicken related crime out there. And just knowing it and being aware to it at all times, like, but yeah, I don't have 6 eggs, so we can't immediately retry the very large macaroon cake, which is essentially what it is. It's marshmallow cake. And I'm not mad, because I'm honestly not a huge fan of marshmallow, and this might be why. I've never been a huge fan of mayonnaise for the same reason. Anything that takes an aggressive amount of eggs to make, under the conditions, the socio-political conditions we find ourselves in, it just seems like such a waste, and it's hard to bring myself to make it, especially as a single person household. It just doesn't make sense. So there go my backup crepes, but given the leap in pizza technology that the pizza signifies, bread technology that the pizza signifies, and how good that bread is, I feel pretty okay losing the backup crate until next month. I think that'll be all right. And this was a good experiment. I learned a lot from it. I also learned that I really don't like cooking with a gas oven. Waking up, I was like napping on the couch because you have to cook it for a really long time at low heat, and I'm way too jumpy of a person to like really sleep deeply on the couch. So I was napping on the couch, and waking up to the smell of gasoline was just a little much. It was just permeating the house, and I was like, oh yeah, cooking for a very long time on low heat with a gas oven, I am like totally flirting with 1950s housewife suicide ideation right now, and I don't know how to feel about that. So yeah, you know, I gave it one more try this morning. I was like, let's just kick it back on. Let's see if we can, like, if the consistency of it was right and we actually can cook it all the way through. Not that at that point I would have eaten it, because it had basically been raw eggs sitting out for, 12 hours. I might have tried eating it. I have an iron stomach. But, I wanted to try and see if it would cook off fully, and it did not. And I might have again just rushed it, which I rushed the whole situationship, but I just don't like revisiting things I know, and one thing I know is what I learned about my ancestresses' mistakes. And rather than like hating them for it, which would be insane, I recognize, or I try to recognize, the way that those mistakes never would have even mattered in a context that appreciated and valued women and women's labor appropriately. So I just try to take them within the context of their times, and historically, and what I know about them. This kind of goes back to her story, what's her story? And so in that sense, I'm never trying to like judge my ancestors or the people who came before me or the people who helped shape me based on, you know, their mistakes in this negative way. I just think about their mistakes and like the context they existed within and how much they would have mattered if the context or the environment had been healthier or better for them or more able to support them. And I'm like, wow, your mistakes are like this compared to your achievements. You know, your achievements are just so up here to me, and all of your mistakes are here within this broader context. And I can never convey that positionality appropriately. I'm always just like, you know, the things that you have done are so instrumental, like they're so impactful, influential, all of the I words. And that's like, you know, I words are hard for people, and especially women and white women have a wonderful, complex relationship with themselves. And it's like thorn bushes and blackberries and roses and stuff. So it's very goth top, you know, like it's very nice, but yeah, I don't know. This was a fun experiment. The other thing I was gonna make though was banana bread, and I feel like we could follow through on that and then give our neighbors something for their help and their patience with the jackhammer sounding mixer last night at past 10 p.m., which is a no-no in the community. You don't want noise past 10 p.m. Ideally, you know, on a weeknight, on a Tuesday. Oh, okay. So yeah, we can totally whip up some banana bread super quick. We'll just start melting these bad boys a little bit. We'll just preheat the oven at the same time and put them on top of the oven, and it'll all kind of smooth itself together in the flow of things because I've done it so many times. That's my favorite other part about being a more intentionally constructed person is this ability to automate, like genuinely just go on autopilot. Oh my god, so useful. Of course, it can really fuck you up too. The amount of times I've been on autopilot when I should have been on at full controls has been embarrassing to say the least. And I really am saying the absolute least there. What else goes in this? Oh, we never got more nutmeg. Sad. Is it powder or soda? I think it's soda. You. And you. And you. Gonna need you. And you. Let's include you. You're the exact amount of what I need, I hope. Gonna need you. Yep. Yes. Should we? I'm down to just use the last of the xylitol, to be honest. Let's do an alcohol cleanse. Xylitol is an alcohol style sugar, not style, but
it turns into alcohol sugars in the body instead of like glucose sugar, so it's great for diabetics. But I've found too, in my flirting with serious substance use problems, that they are helpful for replacing alcohol when I start getting like kind of, ooh, let's just have one beer a day. And I hate that. I hate feeling like I need to start observing and talking about how much alcohol I'm drinking. It's too much. I don't want to have to think about that. I want my brain to be full of other things. And so I'm just like, you know, how do we replace that? And so this banana bread is a huge deal to me in that sense. It started my journey on that discovery and thinking about it. But xylitol as a sugar replacement has also been really helpful. And you do want to be careful if you have too much of it at once. Like if you put truckloads of it in your coffee or something, you will shit your brains out. It is like, it helps with cleansing digestive tracts. But look it up. It's interesting. It's made from like plant wall cell. So the cells are square instead of like this, which is fun. But yeah, it's an interesting, nope, these still need way more melting time. I am in such a rush. I know. Russian. We all know it. But, yeah. I don't know. Something about having the alcohol sugars in my body, like telling my body, hey, it's okay, we're still drinking, but we're not. I don't know if it's like a placebo effect, like I just kind of trick myself into thinking that sort of replacement is helping, or if it really is helping. I think it really does help, just based on everything I know, but I have also experienced with it, you could say I have fucked with it heavy, so I would support myself on that claim. Anyway, I've gotten lately, just on talking about the topic, it sent me off into let's have one beer a day moods. So we're making the banana bread, especially after that debacle trying to make a very large cake macaron, which I feel very convinced that it's going to come off really well next time I try it, but I'm just gonna have to get over the whole egg thing because that is 6 eggs. My other option though, and this one I am genuinely very much thinking about, and I might surprise myself and all of us by just jumping into this idea, but my other option would be to just buy one of those boxes of egg whites and like just measure out the milliliter, and so completely circumvent the visceral experience of breaking eggs and smooshing the egg yolk back and forth between the shells to sift the egg white into the bowl, and like putting the broken eggs and the yolk into the sink and doing that 6 times, you know, and then getting all that amniotic fluid all over your hands. You know, so like that's just, it's a very intense experience. So I'm like, you know, do I really want to do that again and also spend $4 or $5 on eggs? And yeah, the eggs that I get are better treated chickens by and large, like just based on purely my location and the grocery store I'm getting them from. I can assume that with a little more confidence than I could anywhere else, I honestly think. I know that's wrong, but within my context of my life, in all of the places I have had opportunity to potentially grow roots, it is true. So anyway, great. Now I'm testing the truthfulness of that statement instead of continuing my conversation. Yeah, I love this banana bread. It's super wholesome. It helps me when I start thinking a single drink a day is just like a fun idea. It's because I'm having fun, and so I'm like, ooh, party vibes. We're partying now. And even when I'm trying to go wildly out of control, I'm also like very harm reduction oriented. So, you know, one drink a day doesn't seem like a big deal within the broader context of like the American binge drinking normalization relationship with alcohol. That's really, you know, I'm not gonna tinfoil hat propaganda campaign reference, but I really do feel like something was going on with the prohibition in the 20s. And jazz and the flapper movement and the Iron Jawed Angels and women's right to vote and yellow wallpapers and, you know, all sorts of stuff going on during that time period. But the day that Chicago died, no, that was a really good song though. I could sing that right now, back to front. I would probably mix up the verses and the chorus, but I could do it. It would all come out. But yeah, I don't know. I fell in love with the Blackbird symbolism when the Beatles sang it, and I re-fell in love with Natasha Sultana sang it, and I'm just here just trying to make a difference, but starting to think, ooh, party time, one beer a day does not make me feel good about myself or my mission or my work or my life. And since I spend so much of my time with myself, it's really important to feel good about all that. So I was thinking I would make some banana bread and do some podcasting and go for a really long walk, and I feel like that would fix me, and I think I'm right. So we're gonna do that. And yeah, xylitol, that's my little ad for both diabetics and people who might be struggling with alcohol. Again, I don't know, you should probably do your own research, but the thing is, like, these things really can be hacked and jacked. That's right. I'm really excited about these baking chips. They're pretty good, and they're made with oat milk, so no dairy. When I first bought or tried to go buy chocolate chips for the first time in a really long time. Last time I had chocolate chips, I think I ate them all. You know, by handfuls. When I was teaching myself how to be obsessed with peanut butter and what baseline protein levels meant in my body, which was a whole thing. That was like a year of just eating yogurt and fucking peanut butter. But yeah, I think I cleared out the last chocolate chip situationship when that was all going down, and I hadn't bought chocolate chips since. I think that night I was drunk crying on my floor listening to Jewel sing Pieces of You on New Year's Eve. So, you know, perspective. But anyway, I went to buy chocolate chips, and I was really overwhelmed by my choices. You know, there were all these things, and the grocery store that is down the street from me, it's just like this health conscious, attempting to be locally sourced, totally organic place, kind of in response and pushback to emerging information surrounding GMOs and Monsanto and their behaviors. There's a really, really great documentary. It used to be on Netflix. I'm pretty sure it's just called Monsanto, but I'll find it for you real quick. Anyway, I went to this glorious grocery store, very overwhelmed by my options. And the thing I don't like about the aisle stuff, and now, I don't know, I'm just going to get real basic with you for a minute about grocery stores because I really want to make sure people know this. But in grocery stores, it's best to like walk around the outside before going down the aisles. Everybody knows this, right? We all shamed ourselves with it back in like 2009 when we realized what aisle people we were. But they keep fucking moving shit. You know, grocery stores are an insidious place. Your attention span is finite, but and so is your money, usually, for most people. And yet you have to play this like devious game in order to find what you need, and you have to be nice to all the other players. Like, oh my god, grocery stores are such a trip, and if you have low time or low energy, they are a trial. So yeah, going around the outside, very helpful. But when I was trying to teach myself that behavior, I found it really difficult because it made me have to think about the way I was procuring nourishment in a completely new way, and I wasn't at all prepared to try to rebuild that kind of structure. Luckily I did try, and I had the space to try. So what I got out of that was like, what is the most perishable thing that I'm gonna need in the next week, and what am I eating with that? Because if you are really trying to go around the outside and you're trying to stick to fresh whole foods, pretty much, you know, minimal dairy, like that's the whole point of going around the outside, just circumventing the aisles, is you're picking up the grocery, the deli, all of these aspects of a grocery store that are actually the most useful. And the dairy, you know, you have the coffee and peanut butters, you have the home ec sort of stuff, like if you need some toothbrush heads or soap, you should find it there. You got the deep freeze stuff for the long terms. You know, these aisles are meant to be useful to you, but more often than not, they are new types of games that you have to play with yourself, and your needs and your wants and your battling of inhibitory responses and and all of these things. So grocery stores are just so difficult. I once had a friend tell me that they tried going to a grocery store, and I just immediately knew what they meant. I was like, I get that. But I go to this grocery store down the street from me, and this one is intimidating in a very like aggressively, we're better than Trader Joe's health food, whole food, local, organic kind of way. So it's intimidating on a lot of different levels, and a lot of the products that they sell, I've never seen the brands, right? I'm like, I don't know what this is. So it took a lot of new Googling and all of these stuff. And honestly, I have not Googled any of the brands. I've been like taste testing stuff and deciding on vibes. But yes, so I went back for these chocolate chips, and these ones were on sale for like $9.99, really intense. And it was just based on the framing and the branding and everything about it, it was being pointed at like, this is the most healthy chocolate chip that ever chocolate chipped. And I was like, okay. So, you know, really trying to be a health conscious person. Grabbing those chocolate chips, and I was like, let's try them out. And I dragged them home, didn't really look at them. They are 100% cacao. So this is just like, you know, that experience you have when you grab the Hershey's canister in your mom's kitchen. Usually it's in an out of reach place, and you're like, holy fuck, it's chocolate powder. I knew she was hiding shit from me. Try to make some Nesquik, and oh my god, that's the worst tasting shit of your life. Yeah, that's what this is. So these are chocolate chips that are they taste like waxy versions of that disaster. So I had to go back immediately and get the one that had actually appealed to me. This is the one that first appealed to me in that overwhelming moment of decision making, and it was $6.99. So I was like, $3 more for the healthiest chocolate chip ever. or this one that looks like exactly what I need, and it's going to be the right level of sweetness. You know, and it's also made with oat milk, so that circumvents my pesky dairy problems. Although, you know, ironically, I'm a cherry picker dairy person, which you have to be. There's just too much dairy. There's an overwhelming amount of dairy. If these systems hadn't been abused, like, one thing that New York really, really taught me is the raw milk movement in New York. Like, if these systems hadn't been so fucking abused, it could be fine. We could use them. We could still be just like mad chillin', dairy farmer, cow eating, well, depending on your religion, right? But we could probably eat whatever we actually felt like eating because we're scavengers and we're omnivores, and like that's kind of our jam, is creating calories from nothing, essentially. Seemingly, right? But we're skilled. We're like masters of this food thing, and we're very proud of ourselves. And we could probably eat whatever we wanted if these systems weren't being so horribly, horrifically, heavily abused for the purpose of a very small group of people to have a very, like, large amount of power. So let's just keep that in mind as we are self-abusing on topics of food or substance use or abuse, okay? Like, let's not perpetuate cycles of abuse. Let's keep it peachy up in here. And we just gotta jam on, man. These bananas are looking a lot more ready to be incorporated, so we're gonna start the recipe process. I enjoy the box situation. It reminds me of I think it was 7. What's in the box? It reminds me of The Box, which was a whole different set of logical queries and answers. Here's the mother-in-law of Pavlova. I don't even like macaroons, though, or meringue very much. So, you know, that is another reason that didn't go quite as well. I conquered all the parts of that I had wanted to conquer, mainly the egg separating part and then the egg whipping part. And honestly did not slay at the egg whipping part because I didn't include the liquid at the right time. I had to like go back. So there was a whole, yeah. It was good though. What am I? Oh, I'm grabbing the almond flour banana bread. Yes. Okay, almond flour banana oops bread. It's called oops bread because I spelled banana wrong. And this was a moment in my life where I was just like, am I really, you know, being like a grammar Nazi to myself in my own recipe box on my own recipe card that's literally just for my benefit? Is that really happening right now? Like, the idea of sharing recipes with family and friends is always like there, and you're always hopeful that you do get to do that. So in some part you are thinking of others, you know, going to see that. But also, do I need this right now? Right? Like, do I need to self-police to this degree? Okay, 2.5 cups of almond flour. This is gonna be the telling moment of whether or not we can make this recipe. No, I'm just kidding. We'll shore it up with something if we don't have enough almond flour. But this is meant to be like a high protein, but gentle on the gut. So, like, worst case scenario, you fart a lot. High protein, gentle on the gut, conveyor of the xylitol / cozy comfort food. So, you know, I do like it when it's all almond flour. So there's 1. 2. And then 1/2. I'll stop. I will stop playing with the sounds. Stop playing with the sounds. Okay. You know, my ex really got me into that. They once broke a bunch of milk, like glass milk things because it sounded pretty when they were a child. It was cute. It was one of the cutest things. Maybe I shouldn't have told that story, but like, it was one of the cutest things I ever saw. Okay. 1.5 tablespoons. Oh no, I'm way too lazy for that. There's your half. Oh, it's supposed to be teaspoons. That's way too much. Oh well. We're gonna have some super cinnamon banana bread. Honestly, it can absorb that much cinnamon. I'm gonna be real. I think it can. Versus 1.5 teaspoons. I think so. It never really tastes overwhelmingly of cinnamon usually, so this is just gonna be the cinnamon swirl version, you know? Like, think about a pastry case at a coffee shop. That's all I do. I'm like, yeah, I worked at a coffee shop long enough to absorb those skills. Okay, but for the baking soda, we really gotta be appropriate. So, 1 teaspoon. We're supposed to have nutmeg. We don't have nutmeg. Salt. 1/2 teaspoon. There's salt in the peanut butter too, but I like salt. And that was like a lot of cinnamon. I'm getting nervous now. You see how nervous I am? Oh no, we need 3 eggs. We have none. 1/2 cup of honey, cup of yogurt. Damn. Everything needs eggs. Oh, I can feel that pavlova coming back at me over the weekend. All right, well, I'll go buy eggs. Clearly the signs. I'm gonna put the fridge thing back in the fridge though. Yeah, well. But yeah, long story short, I now have chocolate chips that I have no idea what to do with. So we're gonna have to Google how to utilize those in a fun way and somehow work it into the future of my baking life, which shouldn't be too hard. But yeah, I guess I'll be back. Gonna go get some eggs.